Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Criterion Connection. I'm Wade.
And I'm Scott, not Joe.
Not Joe. You are not Joan Malkovich.
No. The original idea was I was going to get into a little portal that I found in the crawl space of my new house. That actually, when you crawl in there, what happens is you go a little bit, and all of a sudden the door closes, and a little wind carries you through this portal, and it takes you inside Joe, who would normally be sitting here. But apparently I don't have the puppetry skills to be able to maintain it longer than 15 minutes. And I mean, you know, there may be some edits, so we just didn't want to take any chances. So I decided to do this one in my normal human form.
Sad, pathetic human puppeteering form.
Yeah. You know, it kind of reminds me of the subject of today's movie, surprisingly, which, you know, that little joke had nothing to do with anything. That was pure coincidence. Being John Malkovich.
Yeah.
1999.
Yeah, the directorial debut of Spike Jonze.
And if you don't know who Spike Jonze is, have you watched Jackass?
He's the old lady.
Yeah.
He's also done in movies like, most recent movie I think he directed was Her.
Yes.
But before this, he did music videos. He was dating Sofia Coppola, and the script for this movie, which is the debut script, a film screenplay for Charlie Kaufman, who did, you know, Eternal Sunshine.
Are you ready for another deep cut?
Sure.
He was also associated with the Praise You video from Fatboy Slim.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I remember that song playing a lot. I remember that movie, or that music video playing a lot on MTV. Like, on the rare occasion they show music videos. And then I watched one of the Jackass movies. I forget which one I was watching at the time. And he was showed, like, as himself. I mean, that's the guy from the music video.
Yeah.
And it blew my mind. So, it's nice to see dude got around. He got to dip his toes into different things. In the case of Jackass, he probably literally dipped his toes in different things.
It stars John Cusack, Cameron Diaz,
Catherine
Keener, and of course John Malkovich playing
John Horatio Malkovich.
And if you don't know who he is, he's in many movies.
Oh, he was in that Jewel Thief movie.
Jewel Thief movie.
There you go.
Yeah, it's about John Cusack plays Craig Schwartz,
a failed puppeteer.
I like how the movie starts with depressed puppeteering.
Yeah. Which I thought was done really well. I thought the puppeteering and stuff was done really well.
So he gets a job because he needs to get a job because he's not a good puppeteer.
There's not a lot of money in puppeteering on the ground level.
He's a struggling puppeteer. And his wife, Lottie, played by Cameron Diaz, with her hair all messed up. She is an animal... She works for a pet store, I'm assuming, but also is a very animal activist.
Yeah, that really wasn't touched on too much. That was one of those few things, and we'll get into it. But that was one of those few things that I was like, I don't think was necessary, and I don't think like hit with me.
I think it's a visual way to say this man is selfish, this woman is selfless. I think that's like a visual,
but not really. Because when you get later into the movie, you realize she's not selfless.
And there's also stuff with like the animals. Maybe it's a theme of like control.
Possibly. Not certain. But but mainly when it comes to the animals, the main animal you need to focus on is Elijah the chimp.
Yeah.
Not a monkey. I don't care how many times they say it in the movie. He's not a monkey. He's a chimp. Monkeys have tails.
So he gets a job at this building for Lester Corp, but there's other buildings in there. It's in the floor 7.5, which is like the ceiling is like 4 foot tall.
The elevator attendant has to actually like hit the emergency stop, pry the door open. Right? Didn't she pry it open with the crowbar?
That was?
It was Octavia Spencer.
Yes.
And you know how I know that? Because when I paused the movie, because I watched it on Prime, it says who's in the scene in that, and I'm like, I know this woman. Yeah. And sure enough, it was her. That was one of those things, and again, I'll get into later. I just want to point out because you just mentioned it. That was one of those things that, like, one of those little quirks that I think should have been like somewhat of like a running gag throughout the movie of her. Maybe they only had her for a day, and they didn't want to have to keep filming her prying the door open. But I think that was something that could have been a bit.
He meets Catherine Keener's character Maxine, who works at a different company. They're never disclosed what company that is. He meets Dr. Lester, who has a speech impediment according to his assistant.
Yeah, that's one of the quirks that work.
No, it's not an assistant. It's an executive liaison or something like
that. Craig says it's a secretary, but he takes offense to that.
Yes.
And says, I think, as you put it, the something liaison.
Florist.
And so I guess she can't understand people talking normal. She thinks everybody has an impediment.
I assumed it as she says they have a speech impediment, so she doesn't have to listen to him. Because the key there is when he's like, I think he's flirting with Florist or whatever, and she like says, I don't know what you're saying, and then she calls him a bastard under her breath. So I think she knows, and she tells the boss that she has a speech impediment, so she doesn't have to do any work. That's what I assumed. I assumed it was like a guys.
You know, maybe some things do need to be explained a little, just a little.
I don't know. Maybe I thought it was clear.
I think it's funnier if it wasn't that. I think it would be funnier if she legitimately just didn't understand people speaking normal English, even though she herself.
But we learned
that
we learned that Dr. Lester he refers to himself as the love god Eros in the coffee shop.
Yes,
but he finds a portal in his office. Craig finds a portal in his office and sees there's a portal that leads to the mind of John Malkovich. Famous actor
of stage and screen.
Yes.
Chances are you've seen him in something and you don't even know you did.
He's a famous actor, but you don't know what he's been in.
Or like the guy in the taxi who's like, I know I saw you before in something. Were you in that Jewel Thief movie? It's like, I've never played a Jewel Thief.
I love, and also it's only there for 15 minutes. I'm guessing that's like a reference to 15 Minutes of Fame. There's a part that, we discussed off camera of of the idea of the love triangle square-ish shape, the love shape.
It wasn't doing it for me.
Of Craig wants to give with Maxine, but Maxine's like, you're a weird puppeteer.
Craig is into Maxine. Maxine is into Lottie, but only when she's in John Malkovich, at least at first.
Yes.
But Lottie is into her and Maxine as well. And John Malkovich is just a pawn in all of this.
He's a
which
puppet.
is why I don't count him, because he really has no say in any of this.
But
it would count to me. He would count as part of this if he mattered in it.
But to play devil's advocate,
I don't think this is a devil advocate situation. But I get what you mean.
Before, it all gets snowballs. He is interested in Maxine.
Okay.
So he is involved to an extent.
Maybe initially with
yes.
her was, but once it gets into love triangle, square, whatever you want to call it,
shape.
That's where he's out of it. In fact, he specifically doesn't want to be a part of it.
Yes.
So that's what I'm saying. To me, he doesn't count as he's only a factor in the I don't even want to say the physical sense, but like it's his body,
subconscious sense.
I can't think of a better way to say it, so we'll go with that because that's still.
It's the idea of a puppet. It's an idea of Maxine is using John Malkovich. They're all using John Malkovich for their own selfish wants and needs. Lottie's it's more of it's about self-discovery. Maxine is more about trying to get the money, and Craig is more for notoriety. He wants to be famous.
He also wants Maxine.
He wants Maxine as well. There's a lot of selfish wants and needs, and John Malkovich just wants to be an actor.
John Malkovich just wants to live.
He's like, but it's my head and stuff like that.
While also, so not only is he a pawn in this, but unbeknownst to him, although it's beknownst to us.
It's maybe in spoiler territory at this point.
Yeah, spoiler alert.
Yeah.
Unbeknownst to him, but beknownst to us, he is the pawn in some kind of everlasting old people thing.
That's where the movie goes off the rails.
Yes,
I think both of us have different interpretations of how we felt. Not different interpretation. We have different thoughts and feelings towards the when it gets the movie, and they're the halfway points. Once John Malkovich discovers what's going on.
Well, after he goes to the portal and has his session,
which is amazing.
That's where it kind of was losing, and it was dropping me, and then it was picking me back up.
Which, by the way, the Malkovich world is my favorite part.
Oh, that's the best scene in the whole movie.
Malkovich.
My favorite thing is just seeing all the women with John Malkovich's head, especially like his date, because she's got these like big boobs, and then they're doing this like the sexy shot, and it's like up, and then you just see John Malkovich. So good.
That's a great scene, but once it gets there, the plot just goes crazy. I liked it going a little crazy because I felt like it was kind of getting a little like. It got to the point where I didn't know where it was going, which is a good thing in my brain, because sometimes you can predict
to an extent. I agree.
You can kind of predict what's going to happen. I'm like, there's another 40 minutes in this. What are they going to do now, John? Because I thought at the end John's going to figure it out, but halfway through John figures it out.
I think for me it was like
who's no longer an actor now. He is now known as a puppeteer.
John Horatio Malkovich.
I
don't know. I think maybe for me it was just like too much all at once. And I never felt like one thing fleshed out more than the other. So many things, I think, in that that last third. Because the first 2/3 of the movie, I enjoyed. Yes. I did enjoy. I did like. There were quirks. There was stuff that was funny. There was some good drama bits. Good stuff. But I think when you get to that third part, for me,
the all sci-fi,
I think there was too much happening at one time, and there was not enough. This is one of those movies I think if you made it today would have benefited from being a longer movie.
It's like
if you made this 2.5 hours, I could see. I think it would be fleshed out more.
The chase with Lottie and Maxine is like that. Reminded me of like if it was today, it'd be like Everything Everywhere All at Once. Of like just kind of like the strain of consciousness kind of travel.
I did, and then that was the thing when Lottie's chasing Maxine through John Malkovich's subconscious. That was really cool, and I like the idea that they're going through all these, these moments, suppressed memories in his life, which some of them were hilarious, some were a little like, oh god,
oh yeah.
But what I liked about him was it was kind of Christmas Carol rules,
yes,
where like you can see it, but you can't interact with it. They don't know you're there, so they're going through these moments. My favorite, of course, is when they bust it. I guess he's like a teenager or early adult, and they're in his living room, and she's like, "I just think you're very creepy."
Yeah,
that was my favorite.
And he's like, "Can we quickly shout out Charlie Sheen?"
Charlie Sheen was fantastic.
When you're going to Charlie Sheen for advice, you're having a bad time.
Hey, this was 1999. Charlie Sheen was still okay.
But I think overall, I thought John Malkovich, awesome. Fantastic in the film.
No, he was really good. For a movie, for him to put his name on...
Yes.
Or to have his name on.
It's a risk.
He was the best part of the movie. He nailed it. I loved... In a weird
I loved Craig as him when he's doing the puppet stuff. I thought
I'm gonna be honest.
Also, that dance in the living room when he had like a cloth around him.
Can I say something that's gonna sound really weird?
Sure.
This was the best demo reel for John Malkovich as an actor. It showed everything. It showed him being like normal, average. Angry, sad, happy, sexual, confused, schizophrenic. He showed what he can do. You can't ask for more out of an actor in a role like this. And for him to be like, yeah, sure, you can use me. You can use my name. I'm okay.
There's things like the rest of the cast was pretty good too.
No, everyone. That was the thing. It was very well acted.
I think,
but like I said, I just thought the end. I think there was just not enough ways to understand what's going on. And you know what? It's one of those things where I'm partially cynical, so to me, my first thought is always going to be, oh, they could have, they just didn't, or they didn't know how to. But then it could be, you know what I mean? Like it's like those two halves of my brain constantly fight each other with movies like this.
We're split
with situations like this.
We're split on this because I thought the ending was the way it should end it.
I think if anybody should have had the closest to a happy ending, should have been John Malkovich himself. He did, but I think he should have been the focus towards the end, considering, like I said, he was just a pawn in everybody's game. I think that he should have been the one to stand tall. As tall as he could.
There's one.
That's just me.
There's one scene that was like, kind of encapsulates I think the idea is. When I forget the character's name, but he was the fat guy.
I don't even think they named him. I think they might have named him, but the one who was played by I forget his name, but the guy who played Warren, and or something about Mary. Which also had Cameron Diaz. You see, we're connecting.
He basically was the first customer, where he jumps in there and he's John Malkovich, but John Malkovich is like, I don't want Periwinkle. It's a very
no, he wanted Periwinkle. Yeah. They were just out.
It was a mundane thing, but he got kicked out, and he was like, "Oh my god, that was wonderful!"
Well, because he knew what it was like to be thin,
and he also knew through a successful person's eyes. That's the idea.
Now that you say that, that's where I now I can see your 15 minutes of fame idea.
It's the idea, now that you say and that. It's also what matters is on the inside.
Because if you're inside John Malkovich,
yeah, but also it's like it doesn't matter what the exterior is; it's who you are as a person. That's where I got the Lottie stuff from. The Lottie of like she discovering her sexuality and stuff like that, and maybe there was a sign of like she was being a little selfish because she's usually selfless. That's why it's okay for her to be selfish, in my opinion, because she's always been selfless the entire time,
right?
And she got to deal with mopey ass freaking.
And I mean, I get
Craig Schwartz,
and I guess she didn't deserve like a full-on shit ending because at least she didn't. I mean, granted, she was still with him when she decided she wanted to essentially not. I couldn't even decide if she didn't want to be with him or not. That was another thing. It was very muddy.
Maybe it's one of those like marriages are like you're just with them because it's what you know.
But I think like maybe she deserved a little better ending considering she did get locked in a cage.
That was a dark scene.
But like, yeah.
So Scott, this is the interesting question. Would you recommend this film to the general audience?
While I didn't hate it, I didn't like it either. I thought it was okay. I think it's an art. I'm not gonna say arty farty, but it's definitely an arty movie from someone who I don't think quite knows yet how to get what their point across very well. But I think was on their way. Like this felt like, what do you call it? Where it's like a gateway movie in a sense for them, where it's like you get that experience and then you make the better movie. I think it was something along those lines. There's some quirks that were funny. There's some jokes that were funny. A lot of the drama, like I said, that first 2/3 of the movie, really good. I really enjoyed it. But man, that ending is just, you either like it or you don't. And unfortunately, I'm one of the people that did not like the way it ended.
You said the ending is something that some people won't like. The ending, for me, is something I do like.
See? So we're both high.
I like that the ending just kind of, the whole last third is just completely crazy. Because this is such a unique idea, and where do you go with it?
I think they could have done more. I just do.
But I recommend the film to the general audience. You can rent it. It was available on HBO Max, now Max. It may change by the time you listen to this in 2 years. It might be called the Ma or the X.
Oh no, you can't put that. You can't call it that. Everyone will get the wrong idea.
But it's available on Prime and stuff like that. Also available on Criterion, the shop and stuff like that. I would also recommend it because Malkovich.
I just realized I didn't say if I recommend it to the general audience.
Would you?
No. I don't think this is one for the general audience. I think this is one for the curious. And I think this is one for the people who like more artsy movies. I think definitely. But for a general audience, I think the ending is too much of a risk to say the general audience. But that's me. That's just my opinion.
Malkovich. So that's our thoughts on being John Malkovich. Let us know in the comments section below what you think about being John Malkovich, or is there any other movies? I don't know if any Charlie Kaufman movies are in other Charlie Kaufman scripts or Spike Jonze films are in the
Malkovich.
So be sure to Malkovich the video.
Oh, Malkovich.
Anyway, I do like how Charlie Sheen's nickname was Machine.
Malkovich.
Station. So that's, I don't know what else to say. We said our thoughts. Follow us on Instagram, Malkovich Productions. Malkovich Productions, I thought. But yeah, that's it. So until next time, I'm Malkovich.
Malkovich.
And we'll Malkovich.